Hey everyone, this is Roman from DS Creative Studio. If you're new to the channel, glad to have you here, and if you're a subscriber, welcome back. This week's adventure, we're going to walk through a quick project that might make a cute gift, a cat-shaped doorstop. This was something my wife saw on Pinterest, and with the holidays looming, it looked easy enough to get done in time. For this project, I'm going to try adding some V-carve inlays to really make these doorstops look nice. So I somewhat recently watched a video from Carbide 3D about a newish feature for producing V-carve inlays in Carbide Create. So the plan is to cut this out on my Shapeoko 3. My old Shapeoko has been a workhorse for the last 6 years, cutting every project that I've thrown at it, including aluminum, to the best of its ability. First, we'll head out to the garage to find a suitable piece of stock and get its measurements so we can properly set up our CAD. Yikes, what a mess. Don't judge me, it's the holidays, I've got a lot of projects going on. The garage will get cleaned someday. For the stock, I picked an old piece of barnwood left over from a previous project. You can still see the engraving experiments from trying to dial in my 5-watt diode laser. For thickness, I used the calipers to take measurements in a few different spots, as this wood is pretty old and I'm not entirely sure if it's got an even thickness. That'll do. Then it's back inside into Carbide Create. First we set up our stock, dimensions, and zeroing position. Make sure we got the correct machine. And then I go ahead and import the picture that my wife texted me. And this is the original doorstop, how it looks. So once we get that imported, we'll scale it down for size. And then using the drawing tools, we'll just trace the outline. And if you have any experience with Adobe Illustrator or using a pen tool in other projects, this is pretty straightforward and really intuitive. You can very quickly just draw the outline and get things looking nice. And if any of the lines don't really look perfect, you can come back and edit those points later. So I'm being as careful as I can, trying to match the original outline. As you can see here, did some snapping that sort of ruined it, but don't worry about that because I was using the wrong version of Carbide Create anyways. Here we go. So as you can see, I did a little bit of cheating here. I set up the last file to just cut out the contours, and I put 2 different cats on the stock because they would fit. And then because I want to do the inlay on both sides of each workpiece, I'm setting up the inlay G-code to just be on one cat. So I'll just do them individually, one at a time. And we can go to the tool paths. So I set up 2 different groups, one for the recessed pocketing, which is an advanced V-carve. You can see just regular advanced V-carve. Those are all my parameters. This is for cutting the recess. And then the other group is going to be for cutting the plug. And so that's slightly different, and this is where the magic happens. Let's disable the first group and enable the plug group. So here you can see what also looks like an advanced V-carve for cutting out the plug. It's a regular advanced V-carve, but we've got the special sauce here, inlay plug mode. And once you check this, you can set the offset for how how much of a gap you want above the plug, and the depth for how deep you want the plug to go inside of that recess. And if we just jump over here to the preview or simulation, we can see that it's just cutting out this sort of negative of the part. And this is where I did a bunch of learning for YouTube. So we've got a lot of really ugly flickering and noise. It's just the worst. So, but there you can see me applying the stock. Here we go. And just doing a little masking tape and super glue. And jump forward a little bit. Now we're cutting things out. And I wasn't really sure what type of wood this is, so I took it pretty conservatively. Great, now we're all done. Let's take these things off. And measuring the stock depth really, getting it right really helps a lot in not gouging into your spoil board, and even just keeping the pieces together. You can see I barely cut through the tape on the other side. Got a little chip out there on the ears. And actually both of them got a little chip out there on the ears. I'll fix that in post. We'll sand it up, and I think they both turned out pretty nice. Time to get this cleaned up. Now to carve the recess for the inlay. I did one side at a time, but because it was such a small inlay, this didn't take any time at all. Here's a slightly better view. Well, what I had hoped would be a slightly better view. Now I'm using a Monotool 90-degree V-bit for these cuts. Alright, and another quick flash forward. And more crappy strobed footage, but now we are carving out the plug out of poplar. Once the two plugs were done for each, I slathered them both in glue and used one of these one-hand clamps to glue them in onto each side. So we're just going to go ahead and cut off the excess wood using a pole saw. And not too shabby. Let's get the second one done. Great. Now it's over to the sanding station to remove all that excess glue and any of the rough or uneven parts from the saw blade. We're also going to go ahead and shave off those ears, take care of some of that chip out. Just going to hide it by sanding the surrounding area down. So sometimes stuff like that happens. You just got to kind of roll with it. Nice. And that's my first inlay. Now to finish these guys up, we're just going to give them a little bath in mineral oil. That's how I finish a lot of my wood projects. It just makes the wood look nice. So, going to glove up and give each doorstop a little dunk. One last inspection before they go for a swim. And once they're both good and coated, we'll grab a paper towel, clean the gloves a little bit, and wipe some of that excess oil off of the piece. Not all of it, because some is still going to seep into the wood, but just going to get the extra drippy stuff. And then we'll set these aside and let that oil do its thing and come back tomorrow. And there we have it, the finished product. I think it's turned out pretty well for a quick, easy project, made infinitely harder by filming for YouTube. So if you've made it this far, I want to thank you for bearing with me. I promise to do better in the future. Not just with the strobe LED ugly camera work, but also the storytelling. Only way to go from here is up. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.